This is the Greg Bedard Patriots Podcast with Nick Cattles.
All right, we got to talk about the next guy. We're going to keep bringing him up if he keeps forcing writers like Greg to tweet about him and write about him. Efton
86.
Efton freaking Chisum. Greg, when do you start to take him seriously, or have you already started to take him seriously?
Yeah, I've already taken him seriously. I think on the last two podcasts after practices we've talked, I think I've used the phrase like it's going to be hard to keep him off the roster. And I actually, heard that exact phrasing from somebody the other day after practice, somebody, with the Patriots. And look, the guy he gets open really well, quickly, and he catches the ball. I mean, there was one stretch, I think it was 4 passes out of like 6 that he caught in the practice, to the point where like I looked over at Phil Perry and I was like, Phil, are they going to throw to anybody else in this practice? And like, I don't know what options you have. Like a very quiet practice for Javon Baker. Not sure why that was. Of course, Jalen Polk isn't really working, during team portions of practice. Pop had a couple of plays, nothing really down the field, but Efton freaking Chisum. We'll see, once we get into camp with the pads and the speed and, preseason games where, can he take a lick and keep going? But at least in the underwear Olympics, the dude's been a gold medalist so far.
Now, he played some on the outside yesterday, at least lined up there. Is that just, look, we got a lack of depth there because some of the injuries, Hollins wasn't there. You mentioned Diggs, obviously, was, limited and mostly off the sidelines along with Jalen Polk. Is Chisum playing on the outside at all in your evaluation of the player so far? Is that at all an option, even if it was from time to time?
Well, let's say he does make the team and he's a regular contributor at some point in his Patriots career. I mean, there will be times that he lines up on the outside. I bet you it was, if I know Josh McDaniels well from watching him over the years, I would not be surprised if they weren't trying to push the kid and see what he's capable of, get him out of his comfort zone, say, okay, we know you can play slot in this offense. Like, let's see if you're paying that close of attention to the other spots, because really in this offense, like the receivers need to know how to play every position. They need to know what every position, receiver position is doing on each particular play. So he's definitely not going to be an outside receiver for this team. I mean, he basically looks a lot like Danny Amendola out there, maybe a little bit bigger. He's sort of Amendola / Julian Edelman. But the kid's been really impressive so far. And like, if final cuts were tomorrow, there's no question he would be on this football team.
This isn't necessarily Chisum specific when I ask you this, because we still have to see him, as you mentioned, in pads and all that. We know that he ran over a 4.7 40, and that was a big question about his transition to the NFL. But I'm always fascinated, Greg, and from a guy that's, you've spoken to just a ton of people in the league, and the process as good as anybody. How is it? I think some people would look at this and say, how is it that a UDFA falls out of the draft and can contribute to a team like some of these guys do? Like, how do these guys fall through the cracks? Is it just, hey, look, it's not necessarily a science and these things just happen? Or how does that actually unfold? How do some of these guys fall out of the draft completely, but yet prove themselves to be NFL ready by week 1 of the season?
Yeah, I think Nick, for a lot of people, there's the whole size speed element, and Chisum is like, I think he's 5'10", and like you said, ran a 4.7. I do not have a lot of his numbers up here, but I'll take your word for it because you're the man and crap like this.
Well, thank
Useless
you.
information.
I believe it was a 4.71, but anyway.
There you go. Now you're just flexing. But it's so I mean, when you're talking 5'10" and 4.71, you know, a lot of these teams want to take the risk on, you know, the higher upside guy, the guy that can run, you know, 4.3, and we'll teach him how to play. But you know, occasionally you do get these you know, front offices or coaching staffs. Now, you know, a guy like, you know, Puka Nacua is a guy that comes to mind. Now, he was a 5th round draft choice, so it wasn't like he was undrafted, but you know, he was probably overdrafted by the Rams. If the Rams didn't take him, maybe he's more of a, you know, 6th, 7th rounder type. But I think it's really incumbent upon the coaching staff and the scouting staffs to, you know, when you get down towards the end of the draft, like, you know, take somebody that you just like, that, you know, loves football,
Right.
that just knows how to play, that has the instincts, and, you know, see what they can do. And so, yeah, I mean, I think so far so good for Chisum.
We'll see if he can continue that as we get a little bit more competitive at these practices within the next month and a half.